Gatekeeper is a word we use a little bit in the church, and it is not ever, in my experience, used in very positive terms. And I suspect, funnily enough, we don't ever use it for ourselves as individuals, but we use it for others whose habits and preferences we feel keep people out of our communities. So it's really interesting for me that here in the scriptures we find Jesus describing himself as a gate and a gatekeeper. The keeper of the sheep, but also the object that lets them in and out of the fold. And there may have been good reason for this, because often in his context, the gate and the gatekeeper may have been the same thing, because often the gatekeeper, the shepherd, was the gate. Because when the shepherd brought their sheep in for the night, they actually lay themselves down across the entrance of the sheep pen, becoming in effect the gate. The gatekeeper, in some ways, was literally lying his life down for his sheep as he stopped them getting out, but also stopped hungry predators from getting in. So because Jesus goes before us in naming himself as both gate and gatekeeper, I want us today, for a moment, to think of ourselves as the body of Christ gathered in our various places throughout Sydney and the world as gates and gatekeepers in our communities. What does it mean for us to be both gate and gatekeeper of the gathered communities that we are part? How can we be gates and gatekeepers in ways that create flourishing Christian communities rather than the opposite, which is all too often true? What responsibilities does this place on us if we name ourselves as gates and gatekeepers? Because if we are honest, even if we don't like the use of those terms in relation to ourselves, we are all gates and gatekeepers at some level. We all have the ability to influence who is part of our communities and who is not, even if it is only to a small extent. But particularly if we have been part of a community for a long time, or we are someone like myself who is by nature of your role in that community seen as a leader or an influencer. And it is really important for us to know this and to recognise it and to be honest about it, so we don't slip all too easily into the routines that ultimately lead to the challenging sides of gatekeeping in our churches. So let's talk about gates for a moment, and gatekeeping, and most importantly, what type of gate and gatekeeper Jesus, as found in John chapter 10, was. The first thing we notice about the text is that it makes it clear that the easiest way to enter the sheepfold is via the gate, through the gate and the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper and the gate allow the simplest and easiest point of access. And isn't this true of any place? In theory. It's much easier to pass in and out of an open gate than to climb over the wall or tunnel underneath the hedge or go through the prickly bush. For me, this speaks to welcome. And gates and gatekeepers are responsible for creating easy points of entrance and exit for our communities. And this needs to be really intentional. We don't want a community whereby, in order for people to be part of us, they need to metaphorically climb over walls or dig tunnels to join us. As Christians, community, we shouldn't need people to have special codes or special keys. We don't want people to feel like they need anything at all before they can join us. They shouldn't need certain knowledge. They shouldn't need to look a different way. They shouldn't need to feel that they're able to do certain things to join us. We just want them to come and indeed to go as they please. We don't want them to feel like they need to creep in and out. And we definitely don't want them to be scratched, to fall, to be hurt as they come and go. We want to welcome people and make being part of us as easy as we possibly can. How do you and your communities provide easy access for others? What are the marks that help you to know if what you perceive about easy access to your communities is actually true? The next thing I notice in this text is that the gate and the gatekeeper in this text knows the sheep intimately, and the sheep knows them. And I want to put it to you that this reminds us that as gates and gatekeepers in our various communities, it is up to us to take time to get to know the people that come in and out and that are part of our communities on a personal level. It is important that we take time to know names, and I'm always so surprised in churches how bad we are at this. But more than this, to value each person's uniqueness and contribution. Sheep at first look all the same, but they're not, and neither are people. And it is important that we value that and that we don't expect everyone to act the same. The other important thing here is that as well as getting to know the people coming in and out, it is really important that we let them get to know us. We need to share something of ourselves because it is not just the gatekeepers that know the sheep in this text, but the sheep also know the gatekeeper. The key here, I think, is the idea of mutuality. Mutual knowledge and mutual relationship is really important. This flock of sheep that Jesus looks after is not a one-way relationship. It is mutual. Mutual knowledge. It is true community. If we read further in the text, we discover this beautiful line, I know my own and my own know me. Knowing one another, seeking to get to know others and allowing them to know us is really important. How do you get to know the people in your communities? And how do you allow them to know you? The next thing I notice is that neither the gate or the gatekeeper or the sheep stay in the sheepfold. They leave it together. And if we take this metaphor further and look at other scriptures about the Good Shepherd, we know that together they don't just go to the green pastures, but also into the dark places and the dangerous places. The gate and the gatekeeper don't stay at the gate and in the fold, but instead they move into the community to new places, to scary places, and to enjoyable places together with the sheep. I think this one reminds us that as a church and as church communities, firstly, we should not ever prevent our people from leaving us or be scared about this. Nor should we be scared of leaving our places of safety and security. We should actually encourage one another to venture out and experience different things. And even more importantly, we should do this together. And then, when we are ready, if we are ready, return to our places of refuge. What is it you do together with your community outside the security of the normal places you gather? And how easy is it for the people that you interact with to come and go in and out of your communities as they please without fear of judgment? There is one other thing that is clear to me in this text, if we keep reading beyond the text we have today, and that is that everyone is welcome in this sheepfold we have described by Jesus today. And everyone who enters is offered care and protection, even if at first glance they look like they don't belong. Everyone is welcome to the point whereby the gate and the gatekeeper willingly lays down their life for these sheep. Jesus states, "And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. I must bring them also, and they will listen to my voice. So there will be one flock, one shepherd. For this reason the Father loves me, because I lay down my life in order to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it up again. I have received this command from my Father." So my final question for us today is, what will we as gatekeepers and gates in our communities willingly lay down to really ensure that everyone is not just welcome but valued and cherished and protected in our communities? What are the things that we need to lay down to ensure this happens? Christ invites us to be gates and gatekeepers of our communities in a way that creates flourishing Christian communities. How can we do this in the way of Christ? Amen.